Jinkies, I found a big clue.
And that's yet another children's show that she has ruined for me. Genuinely, I'm about as clueless to this as you. Lilly Tino is only getting more outrageous, and it is genuinely terrifying to see. Refusing to look at the problems that she causes, how much of a stain she is on the trans community that she supposedly claims to represent, and still rage baiting herself into oblivion. Lilly Tino is disgusting. So hello everyone, welcome back. I am Jake Baz, and despite our best efforts, it seems that Lilly Tino is trying to outdo us in how to damage your own reputation. A trans TikToker who apparently aims to help, educate, and teach around transgender issues. She does a very good job at not only turning the people that she rage baits, but also the entire trans community against her. In the past, we've had lots of scandals around her misgendering people, talking about her private part surgeries in places such as Disney, of all places to go, and most notably complaining and being terribly rude to servers to the point where she has been noted to be the Karen of TikTok. And with how far she can go in some places, it does ring true. And today we have so much new content from her, which once again proves that she definitely doesn't practice what she preaches at all. Going through firstly, once again, her talking about her cake pops. And before we do, if you enjoy the video, please do hit the like button, as it really does help out. And we also cover many more creeps on the internet, so if you want to be around for more, please do hit that subscribe button too, as I would absolutely love to see you back. So really, I would say the main scandal that really did send Lilly Tino to the stratosphere in notoriety for all the wrong reasons was to do with the cake pops. Where in this moment she was in Disney, of all places, and she was talking about having a surgery on your private parts. But the way she was doing it was kid-friendly, so even the kids could understand it and get in with it. This even had mainstream media covering it, it was everywhere, and she's really harping on it because she's not only done it once, twice, 3 times, she's now done it again.
I got my cake pops removed, but now it's time to turn my candy cane into a donut. After the procedure is done, I will stay in the hospital for about a week. And while I'm there, they will pack my freshly made donut with napkins.
I mean, I hope to God they don't stick napkins up there. That sounds like it could be just a little bit painful. Also, just note this is Christmas themed, but this actually came out after Christmas, so like, why are you dressed up like this? But I don't think I need to extrapolate too much from this. Obviously, as you know, talking about this stuff in childish terms, it's going to get picked up on TikTok. People that really shouldn't be seeing this sort of stuff at the younger ages are going to be exposed to it. And they're not only going to be exposed to it, they're going to understand it, but like, why do they need to know at all about a certain surgery and the intricacies of it? The only reason realistically why she's doing this is because it garners a lot of attention, because it harks back to the rage bait which worked in the first time, and well, it's working because I'm fuming at this.
This will ensure that everything sets in place and the donut doesn't close in on itself. After about a week, they will remove the napkin and send me home with instructions to dilate. Dilating serves the same purpose as the napkin, making sure that the donut doesn't close in on itself. Just instead of using the napkins, you use a plastic candy cane or dilator that you place inside of the donut for 20 minutes, 3 times a day.
When Lilly set out her entire thing to the aim of helping and getting people to understand these sort of trans issues, I don't think that really covered the remit of talking about sticking something up there to stretch it out. And I'm not going to lie as well, I don't think anyone needs to hear that, especially in childish terms.
Your donut will become more resilient and you will increase the size of your dilator until eventually you're ready for the big leagues and you only have to dilate a couple times a week. There are certain things that you can't do with a zero-depth donut, but that trade-off is worth it to some people. Personally, I am down to dilate because I am sick and tired of my candy cane, and I'm going into 2026 with a donut.
Absolute cinema. Really, really good watch. I do find this really weird, to be honest. I think that there is a certain time and place to be talking about this stuff, and if you're going to talk about these sort of problems that do face people, definitely don't do it in childish terms, because why would you? What's the point? For an adult, if anything, it makes it a little bit harder to understand because you're having to equivalate. This is definitely one of the problems that she does do, because she harbors on it for rage bait, and it does work, but also it comes across as really disgusting. And at the same time, do you want your kids to potentially come across a child-friendly video that turns out to be something like this? You don't really need that sort of equivalence, and you don't really want to find that out as like a 10-year-old, do you? But I think think what Lilly does is she justifies it because of the amount of attention that it will bring her, and specifically because she had at one point an OF, which we will get into. It seems to me that there's been a couple of struggles, and it's suddenly gone down. Maybe when you're such an annoying mess, it must be a bit harder to sell them programs. But this also does harper back to the cake pops thing that was going around back in the day as well around her, because it's intentionally just trying to spew up that hatred again. And she actually talks about it in a live stream, which compared to her videos, she's a lot more conserved. And it really annoys me the way that she reacts around this situation. Because please remember, once again, she was in Disney around a load of children, and she thinks that it was fine to talk about these certain very specific surgeries around, turning the willy inside out, and expect no backlash, as if you would happily have one of your kids sat there listening to that. But she does respond around that situation here.
I do this also to support myself. I really do. I'm not trying to pretend like I don't do this for a living. It doesn't feel like a job a lot of times. Come on, we're eating blueberries in the park. But at the end of the day, this is how I support myself. This is how I support myself. So, when I make videos, I want to make them A, to educate, and I will never post a video I don't stand behind, but B, also, hopefully it will help me pay my rent.
As you can see, obviously there, she's overtly stating that what she wants to do is so that she can pay her bills, and especially when she's going through these sort of surgeries and stuff, they are very expensive, and I imagine in America, although I'm not sure, they're covered in any way by insurance. In her live streams as well, she's always eating as well, most of the time at takeaways and restaurants, so you're going to be, spending a little bit more money as well there. But to me there, she's kind of skating over the actual problem of the A point by then going to B. B is the most important. It is definitely B. Because with how she does things, and as you've just seen, it really is the intention to get bait so then people will go and attack her. Because at the end of the day, that's the thing that's lining her pockets.
How can I use these cake pops in this marshmallow wand? And I was like, oh, perfect. So I just sat down, and in under an hour, I had filmed it and, just went about my day. And then once I got back, I edited it. And yeah, I posted it. So there it is. It was perfectly appropriate.
Why is she talking about it like it was some absolute masterpiece and some creative genius that she created there? She would just sat there, enjoying herself at Disney with a couple of treats, and she was like, oh yeah, the first thing that pops into your head at that time is obviously going to be, oh, let's record a video around getting our genitals changed. With a lot of creators, they really, in these sort of scenarios, don't understand the actual scope of what they're doing in the form of literally doing it around children. But it's great that she's pretending that it is a true Van Gogh masterpiece that we have here.
It was perfectly appropriate. Totally appropriate. I got no issues with what I said. None whatsoever. What does that mean? Cake pop. Oh, let me think about it. No, they're like, Disney, Disney, No one was listening. And even if they were, what's the big deal? It's a surgery. It's like any other surgery. But I think y'all just want to be mad.
No, once again, she's doing this on a live stream, so she's not necessarily doing it for a reaction that's going to get clipped up. I wouldn't presume with her. I don't think she does that. But yeah, she's going and saying it was perfectly appropriate what I said. And, well, yeah, it kind of was appropriate, but there's a time and a place. Saying it's just like any other surgery, that is so wrong and not true at all. Because you're essentially saying there that you can talk about anything. So, if I'm in Disney and I start talking about a circumcision and giving specific details of how to do it using a banana, would that be appropriate? No, of course it wouldn't be appropriate. And then on top of that, yeah, it's the childish terms as well that are the main problem when you're at Disney. It's nothing that was said was necessarily wrong. I think it's weird to equivalent it to a literal fruit or like a sweet or anything like that. But it was the actual context of how it happened. And it's actually crazy that after so much time, it's been nearly a year now since this situation, she really doesn't get it and she still thinks that she's in the right. And not only to that extent, as you've seen, she's already done another one.
So, stay mad. Please. It's like yelling at a cement block. Like, the cement block isn't going to change. That's me. I'm the cement block.
With Lilly Tino, it really does feel like you're speaking to a brick wall at times. But this is also such a stupid thing to say, because what her entire mission is that she goes on about all the time is that she wants to help educate people, and she wants to bring people into the fold of understanding the nuance between being transgender and having gender dysphoria, all of these sort of issues. And for someone to teach, you can't be arrogant. So if you just be like, stay mad, and that you're not going to change your opinions at all because you're a brick wall, well, what? So you're a brick wall, you're never going to change. But then you will go up to servers and you'll have a go at them for misgendering you, or for saying that, oh, we should use gender neutral pronouns, even though you've been caught multiple times saying to servers, just assuming their gender as well, which is ironic as fuck, innit? It really just shows just how much of a lack of teacher she actually is, to say how much she thinks she is.
About the Disney video, that tickles me. Like, of all the things to be upset about, I mean, there's nothing I could do to make people be okay with me.
Well, yeah, there isn't really much that she can do to make herself feel better, because everyone else has trashed her to the hills, and they're going to continue doing it because she constantly goes through these cycles of being worse and worse and worse. But how is that a sort of rebuttal to people saying that, oh, well, what you did at Disney was very inappropriate? Oh, well, people can't help it, so, you know, whatever. Just skirt around the problem, just put glasses on, just hide away. Like, it's so ridiculous for her to even suggest that.
Even if little ones were listening in, which they weren't, I was talking about marshmallows and cake pops. There's nothing about it a kid would understand. And even if they did understand, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing shameful about being trans. We normalize existing in public.
This is another thing that I absolutely hate from Lilly Tino, when she goes on these rants and then she says, like, we're just normalizing being normal in public, being normal. Definitely my intention with anything that I do here is to not shit on the trans community. I think she's a terrible example of the trans community, and she's one of the biggest people, and that's why the trans community actually don't associate with her. Also saying, oh my god, well, there was barely any kids there. No, there was definitely kids there. You can hear multiple of them in the background of the video, so how could you even argue that there wasn't? It's so dumb from her. It's just so evident from this saga that she really hasn't learned at all, and she thinks that she's right. I think it's really an embarrassing state of affairs that she finds herself in, and until she actually learns that what she is doing is damaging not only herself, it's damaging the entire community. It's making a lot more people transphobic. Like, in my previous videos, I've had people that I've shown in comments of them basically misgendering her and being horrible to her come and apologize to me because they're saying, oh, but I didn't mean to be transphobic, I just meant to annoy Lilly. And well, yeah, that's still transphobia. With this, it's nothing to do with her gender, it's to do with her actions, and obviously her actions revolve around her gender in the way that she acts, like, for example, talking about all of these experiences. But she's just a horrible, grim creep, and that's how we take it, and that's how we should extrapolate all of this. One of the big things around Lilly Tino is that a lot of people do say that she is a free meal hog. And it's something that I didn't really understand at first. I understood that, yeah, she does go around to different restaurants and things and she enjoys herself that way. And bear in mind, just a little business fact, that's how she can claim back all of the meals on tax, because it was used for a business purpose. But she does actually claim for free meals, and I found a clip of her saying that she is not just a OF star, she's not just a trans creator, as she states she is, that does multiple things around helping the community, but she's actually a food critic, which, God forbid, if she came near my restaurant, I would close the shutters.
Hi. I'm a food critic, and I travel around San Francisco with my phone and stream my meals. Typically, for any meal, between like 75 and 100,000 people will witness the meal, either live or after the fact. Would this be a good time for me to record my experience here?
Genuinely, that must be so infuriating and embarrassing to watch. Oh my god. She's not a food critic at all. She goes on live streams multiple times a week, and she goes and eats out at places purely to clip farm so she can get people misgendering her, so then she can actually make a problem on it and get a load of clips. But then also so she can save somebody on tax by eating really nice food every day and she can claim it back. But the absolute embarrassment of someone who is primarily a creator on TikTok who clip farms to say that they're a food critic when all they do, if anything, is just complain about the food, that's hilarious. Are you not a OF creator and also a trans educator? That's what I thought you were, Lily. Maybe she's just a bit lost in the sauce.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. There's no one. Okay. I think they're like all watching me as I walk out. All right, well, goodbye. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to. They're all just kind of looking at me from the kitchen, like. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you walk into someone's restaurant and you say that you're a food critic and you get anywhere between 75 and 100,000 people on the live stream, which is just hilarious as well, actually. I didn't even mention that. That is fucking hilarious. Just say you get about 100 people. That's like me saying I get anywhere from 3,000 to 750,000 views per video to try and flex. Like, no, the lower end doesn't sound very impressive, does it? And more than likely, you're going to be on the lower end because no one really cares about you. But obviously, they're going to be having a go. They're going to be looking at her and they're going to be thinking, this food critic's just walked in. Well, maybe I'm not prepared for this, you know? Either that or they know him, and yeah, I'd be in the exact same situation. I'd stare her out as she's leaving.
Yeah, it definitely is intimidating for it to be that many people, but there's several reasons I mention it. Is one, because I want them to know that it's not just like I'm a random person videoing my food, because it also lets them know, like, hey, enough people are going to be seeing this that you want to be sure to like be on your game, and also it could result in a free meal.
And that's the main thing in it. The main thing is the free meal. That's all she wants. That's all she wants from it. I'm a food critic. I get loads of viewers. Maybe you should, slime me some top tier free food, maybe? I would genuinely just give them the finger and walk off. And it's probably more intimidating for the normal person to see someone mic'd up with a camera in their face, clearly live streaming themselves at that point, asking all these questions, saying that they're such a big person. It's like they're getting reviewed. Probably much, much more intimidating for them, especially when you're begging about a free meal afterwards. It comes across as quite embarrassing, doesn't it? And it really explains why she's like she is. Because if she doesn't get a free meal, she will complain about it. But before we talk about some of the more troubles that she's gone through around not being able to get into places, there is another important thing from the past that she has brought back up on her live streams, and it is once again infuriating. Because 5 or 6 months ago, the intention of my first video that I did on her was covering the Miss Rachael thing, which basically Miss Rachael is a kids creator on social media who does like just silly little videos that helps people. It's like educating, that sort of thing. And what Lilly Tino did at that point is she made an imitation of Miss Rachael as like some sort of spoof to talk about pronouns and like bring it up like this.
Today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn?
Obviously the intention there is specifically to spoof this Miss Rachael. As you can see, it's very identical. And this did kick up a massive fuss as well around her, because everyone was saying, well, why are you imitating this children's educator? Because it's gonna once again end up on TikTok, go through the algorithms, and kids are gonna be seeing this stuff from this creator who does terrible things. And my main problem with this was that Lily was doing this whilst at the same time she was doing OF content, like OF teasers, OF promos, that sort of thing, on the same TikTok page. So if a child saw it, then maybe went on the page to see more stuff like that, they'd be exposed to this very sexually explicit content. And like, you can be an educator all you want, but you're not educating to certain audiences that you shouldn't be. And you definitely shouldn't be imitating something which will end up being picked up by kids on social media. There is no need for you to do that when you are literally an OF creator. It never was the substance within the video, it was always the things around the video and the context around why she shouldn't be doing this. And she's mentioned it more recently, and once again, it's just totally papering over the cracks.
We upset about Miss Rachael already? We don't talk about Miss Rachael? We can talk about Miss Rachael. This is not a surprise to me. I knew exactly what I was doing posting that video. I knew that it would make people upset, but I think the message is really important. It's a tool that I'm trying to give to parents to help them explain these things.
Once again, you should not be having an OF creator educate children around in a childish term around things. It's just so inappropriate in my opinion, and it's a total mismatch. But that's the main thing. I presume what she did, because she did this after the Disney situation, is she saw how outrageous that was and how well that worked, and then thought, how can I do it again? Oh yeah, let's play into the child aspect more, because the child aspect worked last time. So she's chosen the most outrageous reasonings and the biggest safeguarding problems, and then she's doubled down on it, and she's saying that it's fine because the sentiment within the video was good. And that, in my opinion, is like inventing the atomic bomb, then setting it off and saying, oh, it was a good thing. Well, you still ended the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Like, you still did a bad thing. It's massively weird, massively inappropriate, and it's also mixing audiences of what you definitely don't want to be mixing. So why did you do it in the first place?
Right, the Miss Rachael video that I made. If you watch it without, if you can take a step back from like thinking, oh, this person is just trying to make people angry. If you can remove that for one full watch through of the video and think like, what is this video trying to teach here? What is the goal of this video? It's very intentional, the way that I made it. Yeah, like I made that video in the style of Miss Rachael because I wanted to give parents a tool to explain these things to their kids, right? Because kids need to know the very, very basics of what it means to be trans.
Kids probably do need to know that, but they shouldn't know from such a pest as yourself. And if you take away the rage bait part from it, it's actually got good sentiment. Well, it's still got the rage bait part, so what are you on about? She drives me in circles and she drives me mad because this situation happens all the time and she never learns from it. And she's not only going there and admitting that it's fine, she's probably going to end up doing it again. And it's so annoying and it's so wrong. All this does is garner more hate towards the trans people in the community that actually do care about the community, because you're acting like you do care by giving these educational videos when in reality all you're doing is trashing, causing more hate and causing more harm to the community itself. Especially in today's day and age, acting like this and thinking that any sort of attention is better than no attention is not a way to act on platforms.
It was just like, hey, if your kid has a friend who is transitioning, like this is how to help your kid support that person. It's very, very simple. Like this is the very basics. The very basics.
I totally disagree with the sentiment, and the fact that she knows exactly what she's doing only really harbours more harm. But then, of course, she's always doing this sort of rage-baity terrible stuff, such as here, where she's revealing the gender of herself once again. And the end of it is so dumb.
It's a girl, or I'm a girl. Now, this is actually my second gender reveal, because the first time my parents told the world that I was a boy, which is incorrect, but I do not hold it against them.
She actually paid for a specially made cake to pump this shit.
So should we stop doing gender reveals? Of course not. Gender reveals are a great way to celebrate the birth of a child. What I'm suggesting is instead of doing it before the kid is born, do it after they're born.
Sorry, are you dumb? Like, realistically, with a gender reveal, the entire point of it is to know the sex of the child. It's something that has been done for so many decades. I've never had one. I've never been to one. I really think they're just a bit boring, to be honest. I don't really care. But should we get rid of him? No, we should do him after. What? So the kid's going to be like 5 or 6 years and going to be like, all right, I've decided now. Like, what's the point of that? What's the point of having a big celebration party for something like that? It shouldn't be like that at all. Although I can't speak to and from a perspective of someone who is trans or who has gender dysphoria, what I will say is that by doing something like this, I feel like it could be more harmful than not. Because from what I've got from speaking to a lot of people in these communities is that people just want to be accepted. People want to state their pronouns, how they feel about themselves and what gender they are, and it to just be accepted, and there be no questions or arguments around that idea. And I feel the idea of a celebration 5 or 6 years into your life around what gender you are is the exact opposite of that and actually counteracts it. But Lilly is always one for absolutely brilliant ideas, isn't she?
This way, the kid can proudly tell the world that they're a boy or a girl or non-binary, yay! And since the kid is involved, they get to take ownership over the whole process. They can cut a cake or smash a piñata or do whatever creative spin they want on it. It's like a rite of passage that every kid looks forward to. And instead of parents speaking on behalf of their kid, the kid gets to speak for themselves.
Or you could just not do one. Just knowing and understanding the sex of the child that you are going to birth is something that has been ingrained for many years now. I don't think that doing something like this is suggested, oh, we should do it 5 years after and let him have a piñata, is going to change much there, to be honest. Tell what you lot think, because I just think gender reveals are stupid anyway. But then despite all of this drama and being terrible and much more to come, she's saying we should be nicer to Lilly Tino. She's really cute and doesn't deserve the hate. This is literally Lilly Tino's Instagram. Yeah, we should be much nicer to someone who is a cretin. She's not only had loads of rage baiting scandals, she's also had, for example, around a previous person on OF that she wanted to do content with, being very, very pushy, and that's happened multiple times, and it's not right. She is just a nasty, terrible person. It doesn't matter about what gender she is that. I always think we should judge people by the actions that they do as opposed to who they are as a person, and she reigns very, very true there. She deserves all the hate she can get. But this then also leads to another drama that I did see a couple of weeks ago around Lilly Tino, where she is talking about an encounter that she had with a child in a bathroom, which, once again, doesn't sound like a good start, especially after all you've just seen.
I was just in the women's room at a cheesecake factory, and when I walked in, there was this little girl, like 3 years old, tops. She was standing there alone, I assumed waiting for her parent who was in the stall. And it was me and this little girl and no one else. And she kind of looked at me like, and, I just like nodded my head and didn't look at her. I was like, it's kind of awkward. And
I think the problem with Lilly Tino as well is that she just presumes that everything is a negative in her life. Like, a kid stared at her funny, that means that initially what the kid's doing is she's thinking, you're not a woman. She might just be looking at your shit outfit and thinking, that looks a bit shit, to be honest, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm 3 years old.
Kind of awkward. And it occurred to me that when the parent, who I don't know, leaves the stall, exits their stall and sees me, a trans person, and their little 3-year-old daughter, that they might make an assumption based on untrue things that they've heard.
And who's the biggest person on TikTok for spreading this narrative that is wrong around trans people? I would argue it is you, because you create such a toxic, violent environment that this is what comes from it. People are negatively assumptuous. But then, once again, you're negatively assuming already that there is going to be a problem with this, and that this is an issue that is just really awkward and weird. She's the architect of her own downfall, but not only that, for thousands of other trans people that are not going to feel as accepted in communities and just in general online because of her actions. And as I said, I'd probably just look at the black lipstick and think maybe that's not the best look, to be honest. If I was a 3-year-old at least, I'd be looking at her and just thinking, ugh, God, them earrings are terrible. And why is she mic'd up? Just some thoughts for her to have a look at and sift through.
An assumption that could be very dangerous for me, unsafe for me. So instead of waiting for that to potentially happen, I left the bathroom and decided I didn't need to pee that bad. Trans people go through this thought process any time they're in a bathroom. And it's not okay. And it's important to talk about because it happens all the time.
My main issue here is that she's just created a problem out of literally nothing. She's saying that like she encountered some big problem or some big trouble. No, a 3-year-old just looked at her a bit funny. That's it. That's literally it. There's nothing else around that story that could insinuate that she's in trouble and needs help. And then she's just presumed herself that she might potentially be in trouble and then just effed off and gone somewhere else. Like, oh, well, what, people go through that all the time? Yes, they might do, but this is literally a non-story. Like, there is nothing that has happened that is a problem. Why would a problem occur? It's absolutely ridiculous to me that she's even made this some sort of problem which then could become a TikTok, because, yeah, there is a genuine problem there for trans people when they go into bathrooms, but when there is the problem, you have just invented the idea that a problem existed there to then tell your own story. Either that, or just so you can get the TikTok up to a minute so then you can get revenue for it. I just find it so annoying from her. It really is just some sort of victim complex, which I have seen in multiple videos she does have a victim complex around a lot of the things that she does. And if she could just pack that idea in, it would come across a lot better. But like I said, with how she's presented this, it looks so annoying. And it's only going to infuriate more people on social media, as you can see from some of the nasty comments in there. It really just is such a negative precedent when you're trying to send a good message to people. One thing for sure that Lilly Tino does get is she gets kicked out a lot of the time in a lot of places because people dislike her. And there's loads that I could show you here, but I'm not gonna because we'd be here all day. But I thought I'd show you a couple of the best ones.
Hi, I know you wanted to sit at this table, but we have reservations, so
Oh.
I'm going to have to move you to a smaller table.
Okay.
Are you having lunch with us today? Okay. So I can move you over here, then the server will get you started in a few minutes.
Okay, are all of these taken?
Yeah, the bigger tables have to be open because we have a lot of reservations today.
Okay,
so we can
what
put you
time?
in a smaller they're all different times, so we're about to set up this section for a party that's coming in.
Do you see why she's called the TikTok Karen? Like, you really can tell, can't you? Oh, sorry, what time? Pans the camera to show all the empty tables. Well, if they've got a party coming, that might be the reason why. And also, it's not like she's in some sort of situation here. She's in a table for more people, and they're asking her to go to a table for less people. Maybe in case, you know, a group come in and they can't do it because you're sat there doing a food critic review, as you say. But no, it's definitely because of you.
Oh, okay.
So
What time do you think they'll come in? Just because it'll probably be pretty loud, I would imagine, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I just don't want to set up at a table if it's going to get loud in like 30 minutes. Maybe
It'll be loud everywhere in the cafe.
Okay.
Yeah. But so, would you like to still sit and eat? Because I can move you over here.
Just so I know, like, when do you think like this will be popping, I guess? Because it's like
We're
empty
about
now,
to hit
so.
our lunch rush right now.
Why does she keep digging and digging and digging? Like, just give it up. Give it up. And like, why is she pressuring for this? Like, at the end of the day, she's sat inside of a cafe, right? A cafe where people go and they go and converse with their friends or their family and they eat. I feel like I'm trying to explain a cafe to people. Like, innately, that is going to be somewhat loud. So you're here making a big fuss because you don't want it to be loud, because presumably you want to hear everyone around you, that everyone wants to hear these beautiful sentiments that you're saying on a live right now. Like, obviously it's going to be loud, so why is she even questioning this? Like, obviously, go somewhere else. Go somewhere where you're not eating food, or go somewhere where you can go outside. I don't know why it seems so desperate.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can move you over here. It's probably going to be the quietest right now. But
Okay. I think I'll probably just leave.
okay.
It's completely empty in here, by the way. Like, completely empty. Someone sat me here and I was like, can I take the bigger table? And they're like, yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I forgot that times change. She acts like with everything like this is a unique experience that has only happened to her. I've had this happen to me loads at different restaurants, and it's nothing to do with me as a person. It's to do with the fact it's an actual restaurant. It's so quiet. Well, yeah, but if people are coming and they've already reserved the table, it's not going to be so quiet in there, is it? Like, let's be honest, Lily. And then you're choosing to leave yourself whilst complaining. You had the option to sit there, and you chose not to.
I'm pretty sure she just kicked me out because she didn't like me or something. Lots of reservations, they say. Lots of reservations. When are the reservations? Oh, I don't know when the reservations are, but you can't be here, basically. Do you want to move to, like, a small table that is bad lighting, and even though we already told you could sit at this table?
Maybe she just doesn't know off the top of her head, 74 different reservations that are coming in at each time, you fucking idiot. And I'm sorry that the table's got bad lighting. Maybe it's just the fact that it's a cafe and it's not meant for a filming purpose, is it? But then for all things from me, the part where she goes, oh, I've been kicked out, after literally saying you're going to leave. That's why you end up being a TikTok Karen, because you have literally said that you're going to leave and then you're saying that you're being kicked out. That's not the case at all. You didn't get kicked out at all. You chose to leave. It's like stubbing a toe on your door and then blaming the person who put the door there for you doing it. But I really do think with Lilly Tino, she does constantly complain, be a problem, just be a total annoyance, to be honest, and really try and pepper in that she is being victimized here. This is all to do with how she is as a person, whether she's explicitly saying it or implicitly stating that. it is intentional for her to say this all the time, because I do think she's got a massive victim complex, which when you are so hated on social media, obviously you're going to have a little bit of that, but she acts like there's absolutely no problem with that. But it really is so pertinent in everything she does. It's all about her. The table's got worse lighting. That's not good for me. Well, I'm sorry that you decided on a random 1 p.m. to just walk into somewhere and say that you're filming. If anything, I think it's the opposite. I think you're the problem here. And I think it might just be a me thing, but I absolutely cringe when I see people recording in public themselves doing this little influencer stuff. I always will. I always will. And she's obviously going to set that off a lot more. And then I also found this clip from another stream where she's talking about how she gets stuff in a specific way. And all I'm thinking about in this entire thing is that this server must know how much of a horrible problem she is to be in this restaurant, because it sounds so bad.
Before the stream started, he came over with a whole list that he keeps of not just my allergies, but my food likes and dislikes. He was like, okay, you don't drink alcohol, you don't do caffeine, you don't do grapefruit, you also don't like rosemary, oregano, thyme, and sage. And I'm going to remember that with ROTS. And I was like, wow, okay, very good.
Yeah, Lily, keep telling yourself that's very good. That's not very good. I think for anyone else, for a restaurant that you recently or usually go to, I think that is a very good thing. But for someone to literally have a handwritten note with all the 74 different things that you dislike because you are such a problem, and I presume because you complain so much about all of the food that comes in, that is a bad sign, Lily. It means that the servers had quite a few problems with you in the past and wants to eliminate any chance of that happening, but they still want your money. It's not something to be proud of. Definitely not something to flex on social media. Definitely not. Because if you haven't seen Lily before go through this stuff, she is a very good complainer. And she loves to complain. Personally, I think it's just so she has a problem to dislike something so she could get some money off the food. But in her mind, she's just very specific with it, I presume.
We'll see if we need extra dressing. We do. Excuse me. Could I have extra dressing, please, for the Caesar salad?
Definitely need extra dressing, which I'm not going to lie, if you're eating a full leaf of lettuce and then complaining about the dressing, I think you should more be complaining about the actual food that you're eating. Just a full leaf of lettuce. Very nutritious.
Certainly, I'm okay. I'll just have the checklist. Yeah, certainly no. I think the orange here kind of caught me by surprise. I think I'm just going to... Certainly, I'm okay. I'll just have the checklist. Yeah. I can't say I'm a huge fan. Yeah. They're too salty for me, sadly. Maybe. I'm not sure. I think it's good. It's just super salty. Maybe try a different pizza or something. I'm not sure. Just so you know, the pizza is a little bit too salty.
Just a small compilation of complaints of what she does, but it is quite prevalent. And yeah, like I said, I think it's so she could save money because she always is looking for the free food anyway, isn't she? Genuinely just so embarrassing from her. But from Lily, there is obviously always more scandals. And for one example here, this is something that was a month ago where she's talking about, can you tell if someone's trans or not? A typical trope in people who are transphobic will say around these people, especially with Lilly Tino, because she's currently going through facial feminization surgery to make herself look more female. But of course, she has to play into the haters a little bit.
So you're the person who thinks they can always tell when someone's trans, huh? Okay, well, let's put that to the test. I'm about to show you a series of photographs, but it is up to you to determine if each person is trans or not. Starting with this man. Handsome, good hair, trans? Yes, George Evans is a trans man.
Like, what the fuck is this? I don't think these people prescribe to having this done to them. That's the big weirdness thing for me here. It's not only that she's trying to play on that trope, she's doing it by using actual examples of trans people that really don't want you to be really equivalating them in that, and they probably don't want you talking about them, to be honest, because they don't like you. I don't really know how this sort of, brings anything better to the fore. I don't really understand how this is education in any way by saying this, because you want to be more accepted, but then you're pointing out flaws in other people. It just really irks me the wrong way, and it's not a good way to try and explain any problems or issues that trans people go through. But as you'll see with this bit here, It's a way to really get at the conservatives.
And finally, how about this person? This looks like a person who is exploring their gender and sexuality, someone who maybe has a feminine spirit inside of them that they're slowly starting to let out. And while that may be true, this is in fact a photo of J.D. Vance, the next vice president of the United States.
Like, say what you want about J.D. Vance, but this is actually fucking stupid. Because in all honesty, I think she's done it again, because the last time that she did something like this, it was around Nirvana. And I think this is an actual same thing. She was posthumously giving Kurt Cobain potentially another gender, saying that he was trans, which very, very stupid. It wasn't right at all, and it's not real, and it's also such a weird thing to do. But then I'm almost certain that JD Vance in this photo is pretending to be Kurt Cobain because he's got the similar clothes and the hairstyle. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to be like, oh, your idols, your next leaders, they were actually experiencing being trans and stuff. But that's just a bullshit line that was made up, because obviously he's not doing that in that situation. How does that in any way relate to the gender? And I find it so stupid, because it is such a stupid argument that won't work on either side of the political spectrum or in the middle. It's just not going to work. Oh, wow, JD Vance dressed up as Kurt Cobain once, so that must mean that he is exploring his gender identity and he potentially is trans. What a stupid sort of argument. What a stupid way to bring this up. And I just find it so infuriating with some of the stuff that happens here, because that's just not true at all. And it obviously must hark back to the money situation that she's got going on, because obviously it's not going ideal for her at the moment because she's been cancelled so much. And it's definitely a way that she can get money, because she's angering these people that will then go and comment saying, no, the JD Vance is not it. And that's going to feed the algorithm further and send her into the stratosphere money-wise. But then the unfortunate consequence of doing that is then you make the trans community a worse place, like quite literally, because this is the sort of shit you're spouting. And as you are literally one of the top creators, if not the top trans creator by views at least, it puts such a bad picture on everyone else. The majority of people just want to be accepted. You want to cause drama, anger, and make everything much more divisive and negative. But then you go on social media and you're like, oh, I want a positive platform. Well, act like it then. But it is true to say that Lilly Tino is struggling a little bit.
You know, it's been a little quieter lately, and you know, I know that, or at least I really hope that ultimately things are going to be fine. There's no like crisis in terms of being able to make rent or anything, but I don't know. It's been up and down, because there's the Disney trip, and that was like it was like a lot of sporadic streaming, and reception was so it means a lot to me.
And in true influencer terms, obviously, I'm not struggling to pay rent means that she is doing well, but she's not getting enough income to get through the expenditure that she's spending. As I said, she's having these surgeries and things like that. That's very expensive in America. It's all going to add up. But also with her not being as relevant, because people have turned away from her, she's getting more desperate, and she's doing harsher and harsher things on social media in a bid to try and get that kind of money that she was experiencing before. And I just find it ridiculous, really, that she even has the ability to have a platform like she does when she's done so much. And not only that, if you look at her LinkedIn, she's employed by people. Like, she's literally got a job on the side as well as doing this. Whoever is gifting her, they're fucking idiots. Because there is genuinely a reason why she's universally hated, but as she goes on to explain, I don't think she really gets why.
You, in particular, I would say, are like someone who's faced maybe the most hate out of any trans person on the internet by other trans people.
Yeah, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I get it. Like, people just have their taste in the kind of content they want to consume. But I do think a big part of it is my voice. I do think that because my content is so grabby, the Kurt Cobain video is such a great distillation. That was maybe one of the first that really started getting me a lot of hate from the right, but also from some other trans people.
Yeah, and it was totally justified because it was ridiculous, because you were posthumously giving someone else a gender which they did not prescribe to. You were basically inventing that he was trans so you could make a point about it. And it's not just the right at all. I'm not right at all, and I think she's disgusting. People just have their taste. Yeah, my taste isn't like sauerkraut with salt loaded all over it.
I knew that that would upset people. That's not why I made the video, though, right? The goal is not to make people mad. The goal is to educate people, right? And in 2024, a big part of getting views on your content is by making them interesting, right?
Yeah, make them interesting, but don't just fucking lie on them. What do you mean? What do you mean the main part is to make it interesting? Well, fucking do it then. You don't have to pretend that there's some narrative going on, and you're saying you knew exactly what you were doing, like you did earlier. Well, why do it then? It's right that controversial stuff does generally get more views on platforms. For example, with what I'm doing now, with what you're watching. But to suggest that that's why you make shit up, like, what are you on about, Lily? What are you saying? What she does overtly damages the community that she claims to represent. So what you do is you don't do that. What a smart idea. Lily does think that the majority of the problems that come are because she's trans, but I don't think it's that necessarily. Like, she's having surgery to make herself look more female, she's getting her willy removed, her cake pops, and she's going through the hormonal stuff. She is transitioning now into a woman, and she's documenting her process of that, but that's not the problem. The problem is how she acts that brings her down to this level, which then harms all the community and just makes everything more negative and terrible. Like, just a few days ago, she did this transition video, as you can see here, where the music is going on around being a shapeshifter, finding out if you can shapeshift. Once again, playing into the trope around trans people. Is that constructive? Is that good for anyone? No, it's definitely not, and it harms the community. She's actively closing down that avenue that could really help in the world and could make things better. And it's got to a point here where you've even got, like, in our LGBT, people asking questions such as, how do we get Lilly Tino to stop being used as ammo for the trans community? Because in a more negative and hostile world around these issues, it's only going to get worse, and she is the prime example to make an assumption and presume that this is all wrong. All Lily is a burden not only to the trans community, but also to everyone else that has to sit there and go through this shit. But there she goes, keeps on doing these rage baity things with children's stuff for children, while she is literally doing an OF, or so I thought. Because as of recently, don't ask me how I know, please don't ask me how I know, OF is down, and she doesn't have it up anymore. With her Spicy Lily Twitter still showing up for her silly stuff, silly stuff I guess you could call it that. Although her Insta is deleted, there is still quite a few videos on a certain hub website which show her, don't look. Don't go searching for clues, because you'll get burnt. She has like 500 revenue sources in what I presume is an attempt to try and get as much money as she can from doing this, such as here with Cameo, which unfortunately we can't get one at the moment. It's really sad. And I think for all of her content, that's all it really boils down to. It's an attempt for her to rage bait to get money. And I think genuinely she thinks that she's doing a good service in what she's doing, like by saying, I'm trying to give a good message in this horrible rage bait video that's spread full of lies. But maybe because she's just too dumb, she doesn't realise the actual ramifications of what she's doing, and the extent to which she's doing it is actually having a negative effect on the community that she claims that she wants to represent. And all you have to do is have a little sift in her comments to see that that's the case, or just have a sift in any of my other Lilly Tino videos around her, because she does just get so much hate purely because people dislike her so much, and it's all because she's trying to drag for that bag. Tell me what you lot think. If you enjoyed the vid, once again, please hit the like button and subscribe. I would love to see you back, but I've been Jake Baz, and I will see you later. Take care.